Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Easter Sunday. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Diana Master. Let's take a look at the news making headlines tonight. Government has officially terminated the national state of disaster it implemented just under 2 months ago to deal with South Africa's energy crisis. Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Thembi Nkadimeng, said in a gazette published that the state of disaster was terminated. All regulations and directions made in terms of Section 27, Article 2 of the National Disaster Act, pursuant to the declaration of the national state of disaster to deal with the impact or the severe electricity supply constraint, is hereby repealed with immediate effect. In a statement, government said that the state of disaster was a necessary response. The impact that critical levels of load shedding was having on the economy and vulnerable sectors like health and small businesses. It noted that after the state of disaster was declared, a range of regulations were put in place to support the Energy Action Plan and ensure an integrated response across government. The state of disaster enabled government to enhance interventions by the National Energy Crisis Committee in terms of the Energy Action Plan, the statement read. Moving over to Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe will investigate allegations of money laundering and gold smuggling that were aired in an Al Jazeera documentary last month, the government said in its first response to the broadcaster's revelations. Government takes the allegations raised in the documentary seriously and has directed relevant organs to institute investigations into the issues raised, Information Minister and Publicity Minister Monica Muchangwa said in a statement in the capital Harare on Tuesday. Any person found to have engaged in acts of corruption, fraud or any form of crime will face the full wrath of the law. Al Jazeera has alleged that the smuggling took place with the knowledge of the government and the involvement of the nation's central bank. The weekly screening of the 4-part documentary has caused a buzz on social media. Prior to it being aired, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe said snippets of the documentary it had watched were sensationally wild, false and malicious. It said alleged smuggling kingpins secretly filmed don't represent the central bank. The government is committed to upholding domestic and international law, including those relating to financial transactions and the trade in gold and other precious metals, Muchangwa said. Convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester was re-arrested in Tanzania late on Friday night. This was confirmed by Justice and Correctional Services Minister Ronald Lamola during a press briefing in Pretoria on Saturday. The presser also included Lamola's colleague in cabinet, Police Minister Bekitele, and National Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Fani Masemola. Lamola said the convicted murderer was apprehended together with his accomplices, socialite Dr. Nandipa Magudumana, and a Mozambican national who was assisting them. An official delegation from South Africa comprising senior officials from the police, justice and correctional services will depart for Tanzania tomorrow. They will be received and assisted by the Office of the High Commissioner in Tanzania, said Lamola. We are confident that we will receive maximum cooperation from our sister nation of Tanzania to assist us to bring these fugitives to justice. The level of cooperation has been exemplary thus far, Lamola continued. Trele said the suspects were captured in Arusha, Tanzania, with multiple passports in their possession. None of the passports were stamped, he said. Trele said Bester and his so-called accomplices were arrested 10 kilometers away from the Kenyan border. It looks like they were heading into another country, he said. The Oneuptwo Arts and Cultural Festival is returning after an 8-year hiatus established in 2001. The festival is aimed at celebrating Windhoek's rich and unique cultural diversity and developing an appreciation for the arts. We aim to launch an all-inclusive, interactive festival for the Windhoek community. It should be understood that the Oneuptwo Arts and Culture Festival is not a City of Windhoek event, but a festival whose ownership lies within the locality of our city, said Windhoek Mayor Joseph Wapingene. Men and women proudly draped in their traditional apparel attended the launch of the event in large numbers. The festival was launched under the theme The Place Where We Live and will run from the 28th to the 29th of April. This year's partners of the event include Namib Mills, the O&L Group of Companies, NWR, Gondwana Collections, National Arts Council of Namibia, the National Theatre of Namibia, the Namibia Film Commission, and MTC Windhoek Fashion Week. After the break, we get into our story of the day. Stay tuned. NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact NMH1 at synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion. Getting into our story of the day, Dipmarine Namibia recently handed over learning equipment at Ongwediva's Elua Resource School. Dipmarine Namibia handed over equipment which includes paints, computers, televisions, fencing materials, perking broiler, teaching aids, science equipment, printers and stationery, all worth 300,000 Namibian dollars. Oshana Deputy Director of Education Hilma Nunyango George thanked Dipmarine for the donation. This video is by Tuyemo Haidula.
Not have the words to say thank you or appreciate Dipmarine. The hearing impact unit under Ms. Nangolo have 194 learners. The visual impaired under the leadership of Ms. Nugonya have 128 learners. And our newly established, the intellectual unit under the leadership of Ms. Nangobe, have 59 learners. As the Ministry of Education, we have the mandate to provide quality education to all our learners, to all our children, regardless of their ability or disability. When the intellectual impairment unit opened last year, that was just in the middle of year 2022, we could not absorb, we could not admit all the learners who applied to be admitted to this intellectual unit because we did not have enough resources, we did not have enough facilities to accommodate all our learners who applied to this unit.
After the break, we talk about hike interest rates to strengthen the rand. The full details of the story coming up as we cover economic news.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
In economic news this evening, the painful move by the South African Reserve Bank, SARB, to hike interest rates is crucial in strengthening the rand-US dollar exchange rate. In an exclusive interview with Business 7, Simona Storm economist Theo Klein said increasing interest rates encourage foreign investors to keep their money within South Africa and prevent outflows in order to maintain the value of the rand. Namibia and South Africa import most of what is consumed, and a weak rand-US dollar rate is inflationary, he said. A weak rand-US dollar exchange rate makes imports expensive while exports become cheap. In addition, a strong rand-US dollar exchange rate makes imports cheap, whereas exports become expensive. According to the Namibia Statistics Agency, NSA, Namibia's import bill stood at 8.5 billion Namibian dollars in February, while export earnings came in at 8.1 billion Namibian dollars, leading at a trade deficit of 412 million Namibian dollars. The South African Reserve Bank SARB recently raised the repo rate by 50 basis points from 7.25% to 7.75%. The prime lending rate in South Africa currently stands at 11.25%. After SARB hiked the repo rate, we saw the rand moving to levels we last saw in January, Klein said. According to Simona's Storm quarterly report, during the first quarter of 2023, the rand breached 18 against the US dollar due to heightened political risk and deteriorating domestic fundamentals. Weakening economic productivity as rail and port transport capacity deteriorates, coupled with troubled water supply, led the SARB to cut growth forecasts to near zero for 2023 from 1.1% year-on-year to 0.3% year-on-year on 26 January 2023, the report reads. The rand also weakened as the US dollar strengthened during February as investors recalibrated their inflation expectations for the US, allowing for a more moderate descent in inflation. In addition to this, risk-off sentiment is supported by concerns over the health of banks in the US. Indeed, foreign investors have been net sellers of South African equities and bonds year to date, according to rand weakness. Now let's take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is up against the euro, US dollar and Chinese yuan, while it trades down against the British pound at 22 Namibian dollars and 59 cents. Looking at commodities, gold and zinc are down, while copper and Brent crude oil are up, trading at $8,800 US dollars per ton and $85 US dollars and 12 cents per barrel, respectively. Stick around for international news coming up after the break.
Ohole So Nice is an entertainment show brought to you by the youth for the youth. This is a dating show that allows individuals to participate and be their own true selves. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
The Regional Review brings you news, views, and interviews from NMH correspondents from across the country. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact regional@synergy.com.na.
Let's get into our international news. China's military simulated precision strikes against Taiwan in a second day of drills around the island on Sunday, with the island's defense ministry reporting multiple Air Force sorties and that it was monitoring China's missile forces. China, which claims democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory, began 3 days of military exercises around the island on Saturday, the day after Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen returned from a brief visit to the United States. Chinese state television reported that the combat readiness patrols and drills around Taiwan were continuing. A Taiwan security source told Reuters that on Saturday, the Chinese drills around the Bashi Channel, which separates Taiwan from the Philippines, included simulated attacks on aircraft carrier groups as well as anti-submarine drills. Taiwan's defense ministry said that as of Sunday midday, they had spotted 58 Chinese aircraft, including Su-30 fighters and H-6 bombers, as well as 9 ships around Taiwan. The ministry said they were paying particular attention to the People's Liberation Army's rocket force, which is in charge of China's land-based missile system. Regarding the movements of the Chinese Communist rocket force, the nation's military also has a close grasp through the Joint Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance System, and air defense forces remain on high alert, the ministry said. It reiterated that Taiwan's forces will not escalate conflicts nor cause disputes disputes and would respond appropriately to China's drills. Life in Taiwan has continued as normal with no sign of panic or disruption from the Chinese drills. After the break, we take a look at the weather predictions. Chill Sessions is an entertainment show that brings you the latest hit, fashion, and entertainment news. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact chill@synergy.com.na. Chill Sessions, bringing art and entertainment to the people. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Sunny weather is expected in Inanna with maximum temperature of 38 degrees. Ruakana is also sunny and again a maximum temperature of 38 degrees is expected. Walvis Bay can expect sunny weather and maximum temperature of 20 degrees. Meanwhile, partly cloudy weather is expected in Henties Bay with a maximum temperature of 20 degrees. In the sports section tonight, after the break, we take a look at the sports news.
Namibië sonder grense vertel weekliks die stories van Namibiërs wat oor see of elders in die buiteland werk. Die program nooi jou om saam te reis na nuwe bestemmings en meer oor ons mense, hul lewens, talente, sienswyse en Namibië se trotste wêreldwye voetspoor te leer. Volg Namibië sonder grense op Netwerk TV, NTV, Oneuptwo.com en Republikeinse Facebookblad. Namibië sonder grense handel oor uitreik, gesels, reis en wenke en soms toer ons na besienswaardighede in die land waar ons kuier. Kontak grense@synergy.com.na en vertel ons van Namibiërs wat jy oor see ken of om jou reisprodukte te adverteer. Namibië sonder grense, ons land, oral in die wêreld.
You're still watching Sunset News. Let's get into our sports stories. This year's edition of the two-day Nedbank Cross Country Olympic XCO Namibian National Championships races, which took place over the Easter weekend, the 7th and the 8th of April in Swakopmund, was a sweeping success. Winners in the elite men's division, Alex Miller took first place with a time of 1 hour 23 minutes and 41 seconds. He was followed by Hugo Hahn with 1 hour 27 minutes and 29 seconds, and Xavier Papo, who had 1 hour 37 minutes and 29 seconds, finished in third place. Monique Duplessis, 1 hour 26 minutes and 9 seconds, won first place in the women's division. She was followed by Nicola Festa with a time of 1 hour 30 minutes and 58 seconds, and Zara Knight, who had a time of 1 hour 32 minutes and 45 seconds, who finished in third place. Winner of the elite men's category, Alex, said that it was a tough race. Moving over to some international sports news, refereeing body PGMOL has admitted Brighton should have had a penalty for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg's tackle on Kaoru Mitoma in Saturday's game at Tottenham. The incident was one of a number of decisions that went against Roberto De Zerbi's men. Højbjerg seemed to catch Mitoma in the second half, but referee Stuart Atwell did not give the decision in real time. VAR did not intervene, and Brighton eventually lost 2-1 to Harry Kane's late goal. If Brighton had won the game, they would now be in 6th, a point behind Tottenham with 2 games in hand. Following the game, Brighton captain Lewis Dunk was critical of the failure to award a penalty. "I don't see what VAR is here for," the defender said. "You bring it in for big decisions and don't make big decisions. What is the point of it? He has clearly fouled him." Moving over to some golf news, Tiger Woods has withdrawn from the Masters due to injury ahead of the resumption of the third round at Augusta National. Woods, making just his second start of the year, battled cold and wet conditions to close a second round 74 on Saturday morning and secure a record-equaling 23rd consecutive cut in the Masters. The 15-time major champion snuck through on the cut mark of 3 over despite bogging his final 2 holes, with Woods falling further behind after a nightmare start to his third round. You're watching Sunset News. If you're just joining us, we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast after the break. Sport Wrap is a daily show focusing on all sport news and current affairs. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact sportwrap@synergy.com.na.
Straight Talk is a debate competition for high school learners and a spelling competition for primary school learners, mostly focusing on current affairs among the youth. Contact Zone at synergy.com.na to share your products and services. Straight Talk. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact nmh1@synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion. Let's get into the highlights from today's broadcast. Government has officially terminated the national state of disaster it implemented just under 2 months ago to deal with South Africa's energy crisis. Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Ntembeni Kadimeng said in a gazette published that the state of disaster was terminated. Zimbabwe will investigate allegations of money laundering and gold smuggling that were aired in an Al Jazeera documentary last month, the government said in its first response to the broadcaster's revelations. In some sports news, this year's edition of the 2-day Nedbank Cross-Country Olympic XCO Namibian National Championships races, which took place over the Easter weekend, the 7th and 8th of April in Swakopmund, was a sweeping success. And with that, we have come to the end of the broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook, on all the NMH platforms on weekdays, as well as on our website, oneuptwo.com. Sunset News screens on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 94 every weekday from 7:30 to 8 p.m. I am Diana Master, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.